What up, nerds? Welcome back to the Nerdy Narrative. My name is Leslie Smith. Today I am bringing you my June 2020 wrap-up video. On this channel I talk about all sorts of science fiction, fantasy, horror, bookish things. Welcome if you are new. Please consider subscribing and joining the family if you are not already. If while you are watching you are entertained, you like what I have to say, what I'm doing here, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. Your support means a lot and it helps grow the family. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Alright, let's jump into it. June was a pretty good month. I, for some reason, felt like I didn't read a whole lot, but my stats say otherwise. I read 9 books. 6 of them were physical, 1 ebook, and 2 were audiobooks for a total of 3,162 pages read. Pretty dang proud of those numbers. Any month you read 9 books and over half of them are 5-star reads and the remainder are 4-star reads, you had a great month. How I do my star ratings, it is based purely on my personal enjoyment of the book. It has absolutely nothing to do with the author. To be quite honest with you, most of the time I don't know anything about the author. The majority of the time I pick up a book based off its cover, the description, and the hype that I see from other booktubers on YouTube. So that's how I usually end up with a book. And then the other way is by watching TV, a series, or a movie and seeing that it was based on a book series. If I really enjoyed what I watched, it's a sure bet that I'm gonna wanna pick up the books next. So I do not give stars to books that I DNF. If I don't finish it, then I am not equipped to be able to review that book. So that's how I personally deal with DNFs. I also don't rate books I don't read. And you're probably thinking that makes no sense. Why would you rate a book that you don't read? Well, it has become glaringly apparent on Goodreads that people will go and give 1-star ratings to books by authors. They have not been released. The arcs have not even been released, yet people are going and giving them 1 stars. I talked to a few people on Twitter who did that, and they said they did that because they were not interested in the book. If you are not interested in a book, you should not be rating it. You should, in my opinion, only rate a book that you have read. First book I read in the month of June was Pons by Blake Crouch, which is book 1 in the Wayward Pines trilogy. Fantastic sci-fi thriller. This one literally reaches out of the pages, grabs you, sucks you in. I enjoyed this book so much. This one I buddy read with Kayla from Cracking to a Good Book. We were literally on fire texting each other about this book as we got through it, and we read it like super quick. It just demands that you finish it once you start it. So if you haven't read this book but you're interested, just go ahead and block off an afternoon for it because you're not going to want to put it down. It's about Ethan Burke, who wakes up from being in a car accident and finds himself in Wayward Pines, Idaho. Well, that's great because that's exactly where he was headed because he is a Secret Service agent who is investigating the disappearance of 2 other agents that went to Wayward Pines. Like I said, Ethan wakes up, he's been in an accident, he clearly needs a hospital, but for some reason, he doesn't want to go to the hospital. Like he sees the hospital is just striking some sort of fear in him. He doesn't really know why. Things are just kind of fuzzy. With the town, while it is beautiful, it is paradise, it also feels weird. Is that because of his accident? Like, what's going on? Why is he so suspicious of this town? He's like, all right, I'm gonna dismiss that while I'm here trying to figure things out and get in touch with my family and find my identification, which isn't anywhere to be found. I'll go ahead and investigate the disappearance of the 2 agents. What he discovers, what he finds, what he learns is just wild, crazy good. Crazy good. Even though I watched the TV series first, and I thought I knew what was gonna happen, so many things were different and changed that it was like new material. I enjoyed it very much. So if you watch the TV show and you think, well, it's all ruined, I know everything that's coming, you don't. You don't. Trust me, pick it up, you won't regret it. The only thing I regret is I didn't have book 2 and 3 on hand when I finished it. I thought I ordered the whole set, I didn't. I only ordered the first book. Well, I'd said, okay, I'm gonna fix that. I thought I ordered book 2 and 3. I only ordered book 2. It's like, how do I keep doing this to myself? 4 stars all the way. The next book I finished in June was The Resurrectionist by Michael Patrick Hicks. I first discovered this author when I read Revolver based on the recommendation of Brad Proctor, and I absolutely loved it. My experience with Michael Patrick Hicks so far has been his novellas. And while they are short, he packs so much in so few words. It's unreal. I am in awe of his ability to tell such a fascinating, complete story in so few pages. The Resurrectionist is book 1 of the Salem Holly series. So it's an historical cosmic horror that takes place shortly after the American Revolution. The main character is Salem Holly, who is a free black man just a handful of years after the British no longer rule. So what's happening in New York is there is a group of doctors, an order of doctors. What they do is they send men out to steal corpses from the cemetery. They're called resurrectionists. Because they can, they are stealing bodies from the black cemetery because they can get away with it. The public doesn't care. And how we get introduced to Salem is one of his friends comes to him and tells him, hey man, his wife had recently died in childbirth. He lost not only his wife, but he lost his child. And then on top of that, while his grief is at its max, he finds that somebody has stolen their bodies, dug them out of the ground, and taken them. And so that's how it begins. What the doctors are doing with the bodies while they are claiming medical advancement of, learning about the human body. No. The story is phenomenal. In fact, this book was so good that I got up the next morning and I ordered book 2. I can't even remember what I was reading when this one came in, but I put it down and read this in an afternoon. This one was even better than the first one, but in a different way. I don't know how to explain it. It's not that The Resurrectionist could have been improved upon. I gave it 5 stars. There was nothing that would have made The Resurrectionist better. Book 2 it picked up where the first one left off, and we learned so much more about these things that the doctors were trying to bring through the fabric of reality. It comes to light that there's this grimoire that is being used. The spells and incantations from this grimoire that are being used is what's making it possible. So Salem is on the hunt to find the doctor who has this book, get it from her, and destroy it. And I thought the creepy crawlies in the first book were scary. It was nothing compared to what happened in this one. Oh my word. I cannot wait until I can get my hands on book 3. Unfortunately, it's not out yet. I'm not sure when it's going to be out. I'm keeping an eye on it. As soon as it's available, I'll have it. I just had to have the physical copy. The covers are by Keelan Patrick Burt. They are gorgeous. I don't know if I mentioned, but I also gave Born of the Deep 5 stars. Literally, could not have been any better. It just far surpassed the expectations that I had for it being book 2 in the series. Next book I read was Wrath, the 4th and final book of the Faithful and the Fallen series. This one was the perfect ending to the series. I also gave it 5 stars. John and Gwen just really did a phenomenal job on this series. To me, it is better than A Song of Ice and Fire, Wheel of Time, and Sword of Truth. Come at me. The only series I can see taking over is Stormlight Archives, which I'm not done with yet. We'll see what happens when I get those read. It gave me life. It really did. The first 3 books, while you do get a lot of satisfaction for things that you're looking for, of the 4 books, this one is definitely The Empire Strikes Back. So the next book I finished was Grave Peril by Jim Butcher. This is a reread for me. When I reread it, I was like, man, this is definitely the best of the first 3 books. Well, that was until I finished Summer Night a few days later, because this definitely the best one of the series so far. Grave Peril was awesome because this is the first one that I feel like you don't get the standalone vibe. Like Stormfront and Full Moon really felt like standalones. Grave Peril is the book that tied them in together and made them start forming a bigger picture. So Summer Night really starts delving into the world building and character development and an even bigger picture. There's also so many things that you come to love over the Dresden series that happen or you see for the first time in this book. So it really kicks you in the nostalgic tale. I enjoyed it so much. Grave Peril, I gave 4 stars. Summer Night, I gave 5 stars because this one is where Butcher really came into his own. You're gonna hear a lot of people say that this is the book to start with for reading this series. I don't like starting in the middle. I always want to start from the beginning, even if it's a new author who's learning his craft. This is where the good stuff starts. I had heard many times people recommend, if you're going to do the Dresden Files, the best format is the audiobook because it's narrated by James Marsters. So when I started my reread of the series, that's what I went with, the audiobook. Oh man, best decision ever. James Marsters is amazing. These were my 2 audiobooks for the month. The next book I read was The Outsider by Stephen King. I gave it 4 stars, and while it has a lower star rating than a lot of the other books I read this month, this one happens to be my favorite read for the month. I couldn't put it down. Stephen King just grabbed me from page 1 of this one, had my attention. It was such a thrilling and compelling story, I couldn't put it down. I didn't want to put it down. If I wasn't reading it, I was thinking about reading it. I was trying to finish whatever I had to do so I could read it. And what it's about is it opens up with the murder of an 11-year-old little boy. A horrible murder. The murderer was really sloppy, left all sorts of fingerprints, DNA, really incriminated himself. So the police start running things, they start getting results. It all points to one man, Terry Matlin, Coach T. He's an English teacher. He coaches the Little League team. Everybody knows Terry. You know, with it being a small town, cops are pissed. Detective Ralph Anderson is really livid because he's like, this man did unspeakable things to this child and murdered him, and he coached my son. Ralph has Terry arrested very publicly in front of the entire town, like 1,500 people at the Little League championship game. Again, it's a small town. Everybody knows why Terry is getting arrested. Terry keeps saying, I didn't do it, I didn't do it. The evidence is incriminating. It all points to Terry. But then Terry has a rock solid alibi. This thriller is just compelling. It is chilling. It is captivating while you're going through as the detective is trying to determine what is the truth. Like, what are they really after here? What happened? Definitely my favorite Stephen King book. Not that I've read a whole lot, or not that I've read that I can remember. I can't wait to continue my journey through this man's work. So the next book I read was The Lightning Thief, which is book 1 of the Percy Jackson and Olympians by Rick Riordan. I cannot say R's and D's when they're that close together. Riordan? I'm gonna say Riordan. I can say that. We'll say it. So if that's not how you pronounce it, that's how we're pronouncing it here on this channel. This is a little middle grade book. I enjoyed it very much. It is all about, as you can gather from the title of the series, the Olympians. It's Greek mythology come to life for this little middle grader named Percy Jackson. I found him delightful as a character. I told myself, don't expect some George R.R. Martin type of plot. Bring it down to the level. I loved how they incorporated a lot of the Greek mythology into it and just made them seem real. I mean, it's completely unbelievable, and I think that's what held its attraction for me. It was perfect to break up some of those really thought-provoking or deeply detailed fantasy reads of mine. I loved it. I can't wait to continue the series. I'm gonna try to get them all read before they get the show on the air. I gave it 4 stars. I enjoyed the heck out of this book. Last but not least was my ebook, which was Lullaby by Daniel Barnett. He put up on Twitter the other day that he was giving out 10 ARCs for book 2 of the Nightmare Land Chronicles Lullaby, and I was able to get one. I read that book so fast. Lullaby is a novella that is a post-apocalyptic horror. Oh my gosh. Book 1 is like a morning in May when the day died. And that novella was like the beginning of the story. This one delved further in. I kind of picked up on what I think were some clues about what's actually going on here, what we may be dealing with. I need a lot of y'all to read this book as fast as possible so that I can discuss my theories, because as far as I know right now, I'm the only one that's read it. I'm dying. I need somebody to talk to about it. 5 stars. Daniel Barnett along with Michael Patrick Hicks are my favorite new authors this year. I don't see how anybody is going to be able to usurp them, because both of them have ongoing series and the books just keep getting better. June was just full of phenomenal reading. Everything I read was a part of a series except The Outsider, and then of course Wrath was the end of the series. So the other 7 books were all a part of ongoing series. So you know what that means? It means I've got a lot of good reading ahead of me as I continue forward in these series. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any further questions about any of the books I mentioned today, drop them down in the comments and I will be happy to answer anything I can for you. I hope you had an amazing month. I hope you read some good stuff too. Thanks for watching, fam. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll see you soon.